Okay, so we've just started. So thank you again, Jessica, for actually giving us your valuable time. So Jessica's a speech pathologist with Link Assistive. As I said in the email sent to you guys, Jessica's a speech pathologist, and she's also done a master's in rehabilitation. So Jessica will actually show us through a PowerPoint and then walk us through some wonderful equipment that she has. So I'll actually leave it with you now, Jessica. And just let me know when you're wanting to share the screen so that we can do the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. Yeah, I'll share my screen now. Just check that is all working. Is that looking okay for everybody? You guys can see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. As Sandy said, my name is Jessica. I am a speech pathologist and I'm working as an assistive technology specialist with Link Assistive. So, just to give you a little bit of context and background on what Link Assistive is as well. So we are a small business, just over 10 years old, based in Australia, but also supplying out to New Zealand and Singapore as well. So we are a supplier of assistive technologies. So one of our sort of main products that we're known for, that we supply a lot of, is Eyegaze Technologies and other communication devices, as well as a range of sort of alternate access solutions. So we'll sort of go through what that means and what those can look like as we work through the presentation. But basically, that's technology that is supporting you to be able to keep using a computer, to control your environment, and to keep that independence and connection if you're physically not able to access things in that more traditional route, which really relies on really good hand skills and hand control. So it's looking at alternative ways to allow you to continue to access those things if that starts to become challenging for you. And then there's a whole bunch of accessories like mounting solutions and things that you would use, just to help make everything easier for you. So we are just one supplier of assistive technologies in Australia. There are a number of other suppliers as well. So the information that I give in this presentation will be fairly general in nature in terms of the principles, and then I'll use our products as examples, but just be aware that there are a range of other suppliers. So when you're looking at what might work best for you, we would always encourage you to be working with your team, your speech pathologist, your occupational therapist, to make sure that you're checking out everything that's available so that you know what's out there and you can then find what's going to work best for you. So this is our team. So we're actually, our company is actually based in Adelaide. So all of our office team, managers, technical support is all based out of Adelaide, and we provide that support Australia-wide remotely. Luckily, able to use things like Zoom, able to use technology like TeamViewer that allows us to remotely access our devices to be able to technically troubleshoot anything that might be going on. So yeah, we make use of a lot of that technology within our team, as well as most people are based in Adelaide. And then we've got therapists who are based around Australia. So myself, I am in Brisbane, and then we've got other therapists in Perth, in Melbourne or near Melbourne, and Sydney as well. So slowly getting yeah, some sort of face-to-face presence around Australia, which is excellent. So I thought that I might start off this presentation, as I said, sort of one of the main products that we supply, particularly to people who do have a diagnosis of MND, is Eyegaze Technology. So I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with Eyegaze Technology, but I thought I might just do kind of a quick overview of what that is and how it works and the sorts of things that you're then able to do using that technology. So basically, Eyegaze works using a tablet or a computer that then has an eye tracker attached to it and connected to it. And that eye tracker sends out infrared light that's then reflected in your eyes. And then the reflections are picked back up by that eye tracker camera. And there's a whole bunch of filtering and calculations that go on in the background so that eye knows where on the screen you're looking. And once it knows where on the screen you're looking, then you can make selections on the screen and start to control a computer screen just using the movement of your eyes. So this is sort of what some different Eyegaze technology and devices can look like. So this one down the bottom, it's called a PCI 5. So that is just an eye tracking camera on its own. You can see it's got a cable in the background here, and that would just connect into your computer. And then you would be able to use this to control that computer. You might kind of bundle it in with a specific type of computer like a Surface Pro tablet, which is what is included in this iMobile 5 product here. So that's just that same camera, but it is set into a specially made bracket that holds the Eyegaze camera in place at the bottom of the screen and holds that Surface Pro camera in place so that it kind of moves all as one unit. And then you're able to use this specific computer and take it out and about with you if you need to do that. And then there are other Eyegaze devices like the Eye series, which is basically a dedicated Eyegaze solution where the computer has been built to be used with Eyegaze. The camera is built into the bottom of the screen, so all one unit, really safe and secure. There's extra features, you know, around durability and making sure that the screen doesn't get too glary and things like that, as well as a really powerful loudspeaker built into that would allow you, to talk, to communicate easily in really noisy environments. So that is this Eye series here, and that's the device that is logged into the meeting as well. So when I start to demonstrate some of the Eyegaze technology, I'm doing that using this Eye series 13 device.
I might actually ask, if you don't mind, if everyone could just put their speakers on mute, because there's a bit of background noise happening. If it's at all possible. Thanks. Sorry, Jessica.
No, that's okay. And please, but do feel free to unmute yourself and call out if you do have any questions at any time, or if you're not able to hear me or anything like that, just please do let me know. So that, and this is what I've got up on the screen here. This is our particular range of Eyegaze devices from Link Assistive. But like I said, there are other products out on the market, but they'll all have sort of those similar features where they're a computer with an Eyegaze camera attached somehow, and then you'll be running software on that computer that allows you to interact with that software using Eyegaze. Rather than, you know, your traditional mouse or touch screen. So the sorts of things that people will use Eyegaze devices for, it's really often a method for supporting and augmenting somebody's communication. And so this might be something that you look at choosing to do if you're finding that people are having a really hard time understanding you, if you're finding that you're just not able to get a volume that is allowing you to communicate clearly with people, and you're just, finding that you're having breakdowns in that communication often. That might be, a sign that you might want to start looking at somebody to support you to be able to communicate clearly and effectively. And basically there's a whole host of different communication software options available. And I'll show you what a couple of them look like. But most of them will be comprised of some sort of keyboard that you're able to type messages out on the keyboard. And then as you type the words, they will speak out aloud. So as you type a word, the computer will say that word aloud. As you type a sentence, then you're able to speak the whole sentence out aloud. And then what you'll be able to do as well is you'll be able to save some of those words as phrases. So if they're things that you say often, you could, pre-save them as a phrase so that you don't have to type them out letter by letter each time. You can just go into your phrases and then say that whole phrase as one unit. So that sort of gives you a bit of an idea of what some of that communication software can look like. And as I said, that's one of the main things that people will be looking to do with an Eyegaze device. So the software that I showed up on the screen here is called Communicator 5. And that's a software package that is really designed for people who, have no difficulty with spelling and who want to be using those phrases and then want to be doing communicating in other ways rather than just using that speech generating feature, but they might want to be communicating via text message or via email or via Facebook or Messenger, all those sorts of things. So there's some features built into that software that allows you to communicate in all of those different ways as well. And I'll show you what those look like. TD Snap or Snap Core First is another software option that has a bit of a keyboard layout as well. That is not so much designed for doing those other communication functions like email and text messaging and things like that, but it does just have a nice sort of keyboard and phrases layout. And Grid 3 is the other software that is really popular, and lots of people use this software. It's got some similar features to Communicator 5, but it looks a little bit different. And when we go into the Eyegaze device, I'll show you what they both look like. And it's just a matter of finding out, what do each of the softwares do, and what do you want to be able to do with your Eyegaze device. And so which of the software is going to allow you to do most of the things that you want to do most easily. And yeah, which do you find easiest to use? So it's just a bit of a personal preference, whatever you think is going to work best for you. And as I said, that's where you would be working with your speech pathologist to explore some of these different options and try them out and find out, what's going to be the best fit for you. I mentioned briefly the fact that a lot of these Eyegaze devices allow you not just to communicate sort of face-to-face with speech generation, but they allow you to access other ways of communicating, like Facebook Messenger, like SMSs through, messaging or WhatsApp or text messaging, and email as well. I don't have an icon for that, but lots of them have an email integration as well. So we call these sorts of features accessible apps, and there's lots of different things coming onto the market now that are basically designed for allowing you to keep accessing these sorts of features and tools that you might use day to day, like YouTube, like MSN News, like a Google Calendar or Zoom or Spotify or Audible or Kindle. So lots of these sorts of programs or softwares or apps that you would find on your phone or your iPad. There's software that is designed to allow you to keep using these things, but using Eyegaze or another access method. So if you're finding it hard to be using some of these apps or tools, using that touchscreen and or that mouse control, then you're able to use these things using that Eyegaze or switch control or, another access method. So that's what this software will allow you to do. You can also use your eyes to basically completely control your computer as you would with the traditional mouse and keyboard. So we know that when you're using a mouse and keyboard, you've got so lots of other functions. You can scroll down, you can zoom in, you can right click, you can left click, you can double click, you can use, you know, a range of different functions on your keyboard. And so there is software that's designed to emulate all of those functions using different movement patterns of your eyes. So these options sort of range from a more simple, just allowing you to maybe left click and right click, right through to, you know, really complex computer control, just depending on what it is that you usually do with your computer. So if you're somebody that just likes to, you know, jump on, check your email, maybe check Facebook and do some Googling, then you might be able to use sort of a more basic computer control. But if you're wanting to do complex things, using Excel and other sorts of programs, then you can look at some more complex computer control options. So just know that there's lots available. And again, you'd be speaking with your health professional to kind of match what's going to work best for what you need to be doing with your computer. And just giving you another way to do that that's not touchscreen or not using your mouse. And finally, Eyegaze Control can also give you another way to access some parts of your environment. So depending on what device you're using and what sorts of extra little accessories you might be able to have and to access, you can look at ways that you can continue to control your TV. You might be able to turn your lamp, bedside lamp, on and off using your Eyegaze system. You might be able to also look at using sort of that mainstream technology of a smart speaker. So that's like a Google Home or Alexa that is voice controlled, that allows you to to control different things in your home. So that's where you'd say, you know, hey Google, what's the weather? Hey Google, play, you know, this song for me. So where you're giving a command to the speaker, and then Google is doing that for you in the background. So so through these different communication software technologies, you're able to control some of that smart speaker type technology that helps give you a little bit more control over your environment if you're finding it more difficult to get up and about, to be able to do those things, using your hands and things like that. So does anybody have any questions at this point about Eyegaze technology and what you might be able to do with your Eyegaze device before we do a little bit of a demonstration? No?
No, thanks, Jess. I'd actually be really interested to see how it can be used to turn on other devices, other pieces of equipment in the home.
Probably can't demonstrate that today, only because it does require some setup to do that. So you've got to have the right, you know, connections and things like that. And I don't have a smart speaker or anything like that. But we can definitely talk through, maybe at the end we can kind of brainstorm and talk through what some of those options might be. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay, so now this is the technology crunch point. So I'm going to try and stop sharing my PowerPoint and start sharing my Eyegaze device screen. So just give me a moment to switch that over if I can. Okay. Excellent. So hopefully everybody can see that up on the screen. So what you can see at the moment is that software called the Communicator 5. And what I wanted to hopefully be able to show you first is sort of how you would set up an Eyegaze device ready to be used, just to show you the steps that you would have to go through. So I'm hoping it's going to allow me to share the right parts of the screen to do that. Oh, and it's not coming up. Okay, that's okay. So the first step, just so that you're aware, is positioning. So what you need to do is get the device, the Eyegaze device, into a place that allows you to sit comfortably and feel supported, and yeah, in a position and a place that you can sit for, you know, an extended period of time without getting too tired. It does need to be in quite a specific spot, so that can be something that takes a little bit of fiddling to get right initially, so that you know where it needs to be, and then that's something that you will then look at using other pieces of equipment to help make that easier next time. So we usually will use an Eyegaze device alongside a mounting system, and the mounting system is designed, like I said, to hold the Eyegaze device in a place where you can then sit comfortably. So we get it in just the right spot for your eyes, but it needs to be about 50 centimeters away from your eyes, in line with your eyes as well. So, and that's why we want the device to do that moving. So if you are more comfortable, you know, maybe reclined back, then we want the device to be able to come up over the top of you so that you can stay, you know, comfortable and reclined. Or if you do find it more comfortable to have your head on it, on an angle, then we want to be able to angle the screen so that it's sort of in line with the angle of your head. So we want the equipment to do that work for you rather than you. But once we do have it in a good spot, you see I've got to scooch back a little bit, then the next thing that we need to do is go through a process called calibration. And so that is the process we go through to teach the computer what your eyes look like as they look at each part of the screen, because all of our eyes are different. They're slightly different shapes. The lenses are different. And so to get accurate eye tracking, we want to teach the computer what your eyes look like as it's looking at different parts of the screen. So I'm hoping that this part is going to come up okay, and you'll be able to see what that looks like. Hopefully. Oh, and it hasn't come up. Okay. Oh, that's frustrating. But basically, what happens is a dot comes up across different parts of the screen, and you look at each part of that screen, and then it will show you whether or not the computer has registered your eyes. And once it has, then you'll know that you should be able to use the device fairly accurately, as you're looking around the screen. So you need to do that calibration process when you're initially setting up your Eyegaze device. But then if you can get the device back into that same or similar spot that you were in when you did the initial calibration, you won't have to go through that process every time you use your device. So once you've done that initial setup, you will just recalibrate it if you're noticing that it's not seeming to be working as accurately as you'd like. So, you know, after a little while, obviously we change, our bodies move around, all of that sort of thing. So, you know, every now and then you might go, oh, it's, you know, a bit annoying. I'm trying to look here, but it's selecting over here. And that's when you would know that you would need to just recalibrate to make sure that it's tracking your eyes correctly again. So there's no set rule around how often you need to do that. It's just whenever you feel like it's, you know, not working as well as it could for you. So and so now you can see up on the screen, I'm hoping that that's coming up for you. guys see a red circle coming up on the screen at all? Is that showing?
No.
Okay, well, that's not a very good demonstration then if you can't actually see what's going on. I'm so sorry. I thought this was going to work well. Basically, what I'm doing is that I am looking at certain parts of the screen. I'm going to stop looking at certain parts of the screen because it's just flashing everywhere. And that's making selections as I'm opening up different things. Yeah, so I might go into my speak area. And this is where I would be able to type out a message using my keyboard. I'd be able to go into my phrases and I'd be able to either add new phrases from what I've already said, or I'd be able to go into these different categories and use phrases that I have previously saved. So all of this software will come with some sort of pre-filled phrases, but you're able to change all of them and customize them and make sure that they're things that are useful for you, because everybody's going to need and want to say different things. So you can see you can go in to text messaging. This isn't linked up to a phone at the moment, but you would be able to link it into your phone, create a new message, reply to messages. You'd be able to get the messages read aloud to you if you're having trouble reading and seeing the screen. So there's sort of lots of ways that you can customize it for what you need. Similarly with the email, so you'd be able to reply, forward an email, create a new email, all of those sorts of things through these. And you can just see basically the difference with using these sorts of features through this software is just that the screen is laid out and designed to make it easier for you to be able to choose things using your eyes, because it we don't get quite as much accuracy with our eyes as we do with our hands or with a, really small mouse pointer. So it just spreads things out, makes it less likely that you're going to hit something that you didn't mean to hit, because you've got that bit more space to be able to make selections. So it's just trying to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to still keep doing these things when you have to rely on that eye gaze, which is not as accurate as, using a mouse or a keyboard and things like that. So you're also able to use something like YouTube. So if you go into this, you can see you can launch YouTube. Hopefully it opens okay. It's just opening up. I'm challenging my internet, I think, having 2 Zoom meetings going on at once. Okay, sorry, that isn't actually sharing correctly either. But what you can see up on the screen here is your menu. And so these are your controls. And on my screen, these are all over on one side, and then the usual YouTube screen is open on the other part of the screen. So you're able to search and scroll while you're still watching YouTube on, most of your screen. So that is a little bit of a tour of Communicator 5. So like I said, there are lots of those different add-ons for all sorts of different things, like Spotify, Audible, Kindle, Netflix, all those sorts of things, but they all work in that similar way where you've got a control panel down one side and then, your app on across most of the screen. So I might stop sharing that for a second, and I'm just going to show you quickly another software. So I'm just going to open up Grid 3 and show you that. Yeah, so this is a sort of another software option, very similar in the way that it's working here. Yeah, where if you go into one of your grid sets, you've got your keyboard in here. Works in the same way. You can type out your message. You can go into your you can go into your history and find things that you've said before. You can go into your messages, which is where your saved phrases are. So it's got all those same sort of features, but it just is laid out differently. So different people will have different preferences around what they like the look of and what they think is easiest to use. And so yeah, you'll hopefully would get the chance to explore a few of the options to see what works for you. Yeah, you're able to use your text messaging in a similar way. You're able to sort of reply, create a new message, speak your messages aloud. You can go into your email as well. And you've got all of those same sorts of features here, but it's just laid out a little bit differently. So, yeah, so that shows you a little bit about what some of these different softwares can look like. And sorry that I wasn't able to show you actually what the Eyegaze looks like. I wasn't expecting that it wouldn't show up exactly as I can see it on my screen once I was sharing it through Zoom.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Jessica. So that was very informative. It was very informative for me. There was quite a few points that I hadn't known of before or thought of. So what I might do, I might stop the sharing.
I've just got a couple, sorry, I've got a couple more slides.
Yeah.
Just a couple more things. Yeah, so I spoke briefly about mounting solutions. So this is what you would use to get your Eyegaze device in the right spot to be able to use it. And you might choose to use a couple of these things or just one of them. It just depends on where you're wanting to use your Eyegaze device. I've mentioned a few times throughout the presentation that you would want to try out a few different things. So we have a scheme where you're able to loan a device. So you can borrow it for a few weeks, try a few different things out and see if it's right for you. We think it's really important that you're able to get a chance to do that. So we offer that, and most of the suppliers offer that as well. So yeah, so you can either loan or rent devices just for different periods of time. So just know, yeah, that's an option. If it's something you're interested in, then just get in touch with us and we can let you know the process for doing that. Yeah, there are lots of other ways of accessing devices as well. So if Eyegaze isn't something that you think you want or need at the moment, just know that there are other solutions that will help you if you're finding that, you know, for example, using a regular mouse is getting tricky, but you still, you know, want to be using a mouse and you still can use a mouse. There are ways that you can use a bit of an adaptation to that to make it a little bit easier for you. You might be able to use an alternative to a mouse where you actually use your head to control the mouse rather than your hand. So if you're finding that, you know, your hands get tired easily, but you're still feeling pretty good to be sitting upright and, you know, moving your head around, then that might be an option that's going to work for you. You can also use a range of different switches to access things as well. So you can use switches that you have to press down on. I've got a few here. So you know, make a click or selection by pressing down hard on a switch, and there's all sorts of different switch sizes and types available. there are different types of switches like this one here where you don't actually have to press down on the switch to get it to click. You just put your hand near it. You're probably not going to be able to see clearly enough, but I'm not actually putting any pressure on that switch, but it's selecting for me. So that's can be a style of switch that suits people. Otherwise, the ENG switches, so the type of switch that you don't need a full movement, but you need a muscle twitch kind of movement. That's another switch type that's available if that's what's going to work best for you as well. So that's similar to the NeuroNode. So the NeuroNode works in that same way, but there are other brands, I guess, of that same idea. So the brand that we stock is called Amigo. So it work, you know, there are differences in the products. So again, NeuroNode will work better for some people. Amigo might work better for other people. It's just good to know that there are some different options available. Yeah, and some people will also use a combination of switch and eye gaze access. So that's sort of what the NeuroNode is built on as well, where you will look around the screen, and then when you get to the part that you want, you select your switch to click. Yeah, and I've got a little demo video of that here. Hopefully that will play for you. Can you guys hear that, or is that too soft?
Left arm, and in distraction settings, the activation method is set to switch. So by moving my left fingers, it will just do a single click. So going to speak, close keyboard, missed that, close keyboard. Let's go to desktop and activate computer control. So same thing here, I've set up gaze and switch in the settings. So going to the Windows Start button, single click. Going to discover this device. So super quick way of accessing a computer.
Yeah, so that software, that was a little clip of our managing director, Bus, just demonstrating that product. And so he was using computer control, which is that software I mentioned a bit earlier that allows you basically to use, you know, all the mouse and keyboard functions using that eye gaze control. And he's just paired that with a switch so that rather than having to hold your gaze on something for it to select, you yeah, use your switch to select and to click. Finally, just another couple of products that we stock that you might be interested in. We do have some call systems, so they're, you know, sort of emergency call alarms. We don't stock a lot of those, but we do stock this particular brand because it allows for lots of different methods of accessing that alarm. So there's lots of different types of ways to activate it. So you can use your voice to activate it. So if you can kind of call out a little bit, but not loudly enough, then you could call out and activate the alarm to sound loudly, as well as, yeah, a whole range of other ways of activating that call system. And we do have voice amplifiers as well. So that is basically a little microphone type system where you would wear a microphone on your collar or your clothes, or maybe yeah, on your face, and that would pick up your voice and amplify it. So if you're just finding that you just can't get enough volume of your speech, then that's a way to kind of support that for you as well. So and last sort of little thing just to mention is around voice and message banking. So this is something that you would use alongside your communication system that would allow you to continue to save and use your own voice with that system. So yeah, so if that's something that you are interested in doing. So voice banking is basically where you record a whole series of sentences and phrases, and then they create a synthesized voice that's mixes your own voice into it. So it's like a unique synthesized voice. So typically on these communication devices, you've got standard voices that talk aloud, like your Siri voice, or, you know, you can choose from a few, but there's not too many options. Whereas if you voice bank, you can create a voice that's unique to you. It takes in your own voice recordings and mixes it around so that it's unique to you. Message banking is where you record and save specific phrases and then play them back exactly as you've recorded them. So it allows you to access that that phrase spoken by you using your communication device. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, again, your therapy team would be able to support you to learn how to do that and organize that, and then put that onto a communication device when you're ready to do that. And last little point is just around you know, having access to some low technology communication supports as well. So it's great to have access to all of this technology, and, you know, it allows you to do a lot of different things, but it is always important to have a bit of a backup system for when that technology isn't available, or, you know, you're unable to use it. So there are lots of free resources available online that give you some, you know, spelling keyboards that you maybe might be able to use some eye pointing to access, or you can get a partner to scan through your choices and things like that. So yeah, just always keeping in mind to have a bit of a backup option available if you are going to be using technology, because we know that we just cannot always rely on it, unfortunately. Yeah, so that yeah, is about all the information I had to give you. We are always available to support you with finding out more about any of these different products. We provide support, either technical support, so that's you know, our technical team doing the updating and making sure that your computer is running as it should, and then clinical support, so giving you ideas around how you're able to use these products, you know, in your day-to-day life. We can consult with your therapist if it's, you know, if they haven't used this technology very often, then we're, you know, able to give them some training. We can give you and your family some training through, you know, a whole range of different online supports. So yeah, and that's all our contact information. If you do want to get in touch, if you've got any specific questions that you want to know, then yeah, please reach out, yeah, and get in touch. We'd love to be able to help you find something that works well for you.
Okay. Thanks, Jessica. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very informative. We might stop sharing the screen. Do you want to leave? Yep, thank you. So we might open it up for questions if anyone has questions. No, I found it very interesting that the devices, you can gear them up to have emergency calls on them as well, Jessica.
Yeah.
So can they contact 000, for example?
I think that's a great question. I think when I spoke about emergency calls, that wasn't what I was referring to. But having said that, if you do link up your phone to the device, you would definitely be able to create sort of a quick call link to either 000 or to an emergency contact person to make that as easy as possible. Yeah.
That's a good thing to have. So is there any questions from anybody at all for Jessica? No, Sam? Jane, you don't have any questions at all?
No, not really. I had a session with the Eyegaze, so a lot of this is not new, but however, I learned some things that I couldn't get an answer before, so I learned something out of it.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure how familiar people would be with Eyegaze, so I thought it was better to, you know, start from as if someone hadn't seen it before, and then, yeah, we could talk.
No, that's fine, because I still learned something out of it.
Good, yeah.
That's good, Sam. So, any other questions at all?
No.
No. Okay. Thanks, Jane. So thank you very much, Jessica, for your time, for coming to help our MND community, because Eyegaze and communication, as you would know, is something that we all do touch on. So it's really important to actually understand, especially, you know, with the equipment and the stands associated with it and the different applications. So that's really quite beneficial for our MND community. So thank you everyone for coming. I will actually stop the recording now, and thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for linking in. And if you do think of any other questions, I know I gave a lot of information in a short time. So if you think of anything later, please do get in touch with us.
Excellent.
Love to chat.
Thanks.